Picture this: helicopter gunships flying over the horizon about to rain terror. What's the first thing you hear in your head? It's likely Ride of the Valkyries by Richard Wagner. Why is this? Because of the song's use in Apocalypse Now and it being tied to that imagery to set one of the most iconic Vietnam War film moments ever made. What's up, guys? My name is Marcus, and welcome to Meanwhile, where we discuss film and all things pop culture. Today, I'll be briefly exploring the importance of music in film and how a soundtrack can make or break a moment. We'll be looking at some famous examples, like the aforementioned Ride of the Valkyries, which has been ingrained in pop culture forever as being associated with Francis Ford Coppola's Apocalypse Now and that gunship scene. First, it's important to note that film is relatively new to us and has only been around since the 1890s, which up until 1929 had no sound and was known as the silent era. Cinemagoers back then would rely on a pianist or phonograph to provide sound to the film they were watching, which would have subtitles. Even back when films first began, the importance of music to set the mood and scene was essential. This is no surprise, as music throughout the ages has been used to convey emotion, tell stories, and make statements. The golden age of cinema was an explosion in creativity in both visual and sound. Boundaries were being pushed, and the role of composer was quickly in demand, and the concept of soundtracks was thus created. The man often cited, the father of film music, Max Steiner, honed and perfected le motif, commonly known as a motif, simply meaning a musical theme assigned to a certain character or event. Think of any big film franchise such as Star Wars, and the first thing that will come into your head is likely the Imperial March, written by John Williams. This motif, this piece of music, is present throughout almost every single film in the franchise. Certain notes are attached to Darth Vader as a character, perfectly matching the visuals on screen. Another example would be Enemy at the Gates, by James Horner, with his extensive use of horns throughout the film, as we follow main character Vasily. I think an honorable mention would be also yet another John Williams composition, which is no surprise as he is the master of modern soundtrack, is his 1975 theme to the film Jaws, which has transcended film itself and has become almost synonymous with sharks. As sound evolved and genres became mainstream, film scores changed with it. Initially focusing on more traditional sounds drawing from classical music, film scores and soundtracks began to change as the years went on. The 60s is a great example of this progression, with numerous genres exploding into the mainstream and into film. Prime examples would be Ennio Morricone, perfecting the Western genre sound with Sergio Leone's Dollars trilogy, which is still emulated to this day. John Barry, cementing himself as a household name with the James Bond theme, which is still going 60 years later. And, of course, Henry Mancini's Pink Panther theme. I'm going to briefly mention one film in particular that changed the landscape of how film scores were done, and this film didn't have any original music except for one song. Nowadays, this is fairly common, with films usually having an original film score and an accompanying soundtrack. However, in 1967, when Mike Nichols' The Graduate was released, with the soundtrack comprised of Simon & Garfunkel songs, and became a massive hit with Mrs. Robinson. At the time, it wasn't common for film soundtracks to comprise of licensed music. This would quickly change as directors realized they could use any music they wanted to help convey a message, emotion, or set a scene. Let's name a few songs, and I'll tell you what likely pops into your head. Footloose. Did you just see Kevin Bacon? Hip to be Square. Did you just see Patrick Bateman? You Can Never Tell. Did you just see Jackrabbit Slims? Music can truly make or break a scene. It can become ingrained into one's memory and immortalize a scene, like the examples I've already mentioned, or it can at worst become a distraction and take you out of your viewing experience. Music in film should always be additive to a scene. It's there to help you be sucked into the world, conversation, or room that you are seeing. It's there to help you feel a character's sadness, envy, happiness, grief, or terror. There are numerous examples on YouTube of famous scenes from film with interchanged music, and the difference can be staggering or can be subtle. Let's take a film and change the music. This scene here is taken from 1979's landmark film Alien, directed by Ridley Scott and composed by Jerry Goldsmith. Now let's switch it up. Let's interchange the music with something completely different. Here is the video again, but this time with Mr. Mustafa from the Grand Budapest Hotel, directed by Wes Anderson and music composed by Alexander Desplat. Did that scene feel different to you? The point of the exercise here is to highlight how music can influence how we feel, regardless of what we're seeing with our eyes. This can easily go wrong, of course, with a character's moment of sadness being met with a joyful motif or piece of music, or a moment of action being met with a piece of music that doesn't convey a sense of danger, urgency, or electricity. Music has become an integral part of film over the last 90 years and will continue to be important as long as film exists, as film and music both continue to push boundaries and new genres are created yearly, with virtual instruments and synthesizers taking the industry and the world by storm in the 90s. Who knows what we'll be listening to in the years to come, but we can safely rest in knowing that music will always be there with us, to heighten our senses and heighten our viewing experience. Thank you for watching this video. I've been Marcus from Meanwhile, and if you've liked this content, like, subscribe, and comment. And if you didn't like, comment and let me know why.